This is the Lifestream Final Fantasy Podcast, episode number 12 for December 16th, 2015. Hello everyone and welcome to the Lifestream Final Fantasy Podcast. I am Mike Ficklin, also known as Vader SW1 on the forums, and joining me on this mythic quest into all things Final Fantasy are Flintlock.
Here representing the Europeans of TLS, because the rest of them are watching Star Wars.
For sure. Conspicuous by their absence are Lex and Tetsuya. JasonTandro.
Howdy, hey.
And Ryushikaze.
Hibbledy.
And basically what this show is about is for an hour or so every few weeks, we will discuss all things Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy related. We'll hit upon recent news and notes and delve into a different topic of discussion each episode. If you have a recommendation for something we should discuss, feel free to hit us up at lifestreampod@gmail.com or comment on the episode posts on the forums each week. And we have a jam-packed episode this fortnight. Got lots of news and notes, and thought we'd have a little bit of fun talking about some of our favorite holiday Final Fantasy related memories here. So without further ado, we'll jump right on into the news and notes here. Starting with the reveal that apparently back at D23 Japan, a 7-second clip of Kingdom Hearts 3 was apparently shown that has just now found its way online, and it features a Toy Story world, so it looks like Toy Story is going to be featured in the new Kingdom Hearts. I'm kind of stoked about that.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
that'd be worth the price of admission for me. That and the Tangled world. I'm not gonna lie, I really freaking like Tangled. It's not aimed at me, but I would love to play in that world.
Yeah, the Toy Story world's got me all fired up. I'm a huge Toy Story fan, so...
Do you have a friend in Toy Story?
But of course.
I'm waiting for the animals from the Cinderella world to show up in it and cause havoc.
Oh my god, I just realized something. In the Toy Story world, I guarantee you Sid's creations are going to be enemies.
Oh, would that be amazing? That would
probably a mini-boss, yes.
That would be amazing. And by the way, Ryu, that's already been done. It's called South Park.
Lemmy Winks.
Next piece of news we have here is Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII has been released to Steam as of December the 10th. Not sure if any of you guys went and picked that up here. I definitely did not, but
I might have considered it, except for the way Final Fantasy XIII 2 Steam release handled DLC. A lot of stuff was missing and you couldn't get it because apparently some licenses had run out, so I'm worried that the same is going to be true of the Lightning Returns release. I've got a mostly 100% save file on my Xbox 360 version anyway, so I don't see the point.
Well, the thing about the stuff that was missing is that a lot of people managed to work it back in anyways. Mods, yay.
Well, mods are always fun.
Oh, yes.
Next piece of news we have is Final Fantasy VI was released to Steam as of today.
Are you worried about the DLC on this one?
You know,
pay $49.99 for General Leo not to die.
People would do that.
I'm
They
sure.
would.
I'm sure. The only gripe that I've really heard people talking about this is apparently it's a port of the iOS version, and I have heard lots of stuff about people bitching about the way that the graphics were kind of schmozzed in the iOS version. So
it looks, the graphics, I mean, graphics aren't important to me, but for a game as classic as this, they kind of are, because the remastered quote-unquote graphics look like a lame RPG Maker project. And of course, I use RPG Maker. I'm fine with that because that's the technology I have to me. But a software company that specializes in game making should have better graphics than this. This is graphic design 101 that we're seeing here. It's not impressive.
Yeah, from what I've seen of it, it looks like they spruced up the sprites, but didn't do anything at all to the backgrounds at all.
Nope.
It's kind of ugly.
It's the disjointed connection of like that we got with like Type 0 when you would have the HD rendered characters on the non-HD backgrounds.
Yeah.
Only even more so because it's in such a lower resolution and we're talking like 16-bit graphics against this garish nut. It's just no. Big pile of nope.
What about you, Flint? Did you pick it up?
No, I'm quite happy playing the Game Boy Advance version myself.
I'm with you, Flint. That, in my humble opinion, aside obviously from the original SNES version, that is definitely the best version of the game.
I stick true to the anthology version myself if I can't get the SNES. I thought the anthology version was alright.
Yeah, some people don't like the translation changes in the GBA version. That's pretty much, as far as I can tell, the only reason that you wouldn't play it.
I think some of the more interesting glitches were patched out as well.
Oh, like the amazing imp setup?
No, that's not a glitch. That's intended.
Really? Oh.
I was talking about stuff like Drill Hat and the Realm Adventure.
What about the Vanish and XIII glitch? Is that still in there? You know,
that one's still there. That is one of the things that they retained, I think, in all versions, is the fact that magic defense doesn't actually exist. So to anyone who doesn't know, there is a stat in Final Fantasy VI that literally does nothing. And so magic defense doesn't exist. It's just evasion. And when you use the Vanish spell, your actual evasion is maxed out, but your magic defense derived value is set to 0, and that's why Vanish will work and XIII will work even if on something that's normally immune. And those are still in. I think they fixed some of the exploits with it, but not the fact that you can do it.
Huh.
And they were so fond of the magic defense bug that they kept it in for Final Fantasy VII.
But you didn't get to use blind to get cool sunglasses in that version, so...
Yeah, it's true.
Next piece of news here, and I have to say I'm a little pissed about this one. Bravely Second in Lair gets a release date for Europe. To be released on February 26th in Europe, and I'm kind of pissed about that one. Still no release date set for North America. A collector's edition was announced, though, which will include a CD soundtrack, an art book, and a figurine. I hope we get the same treatment to North America when we finally get a release date here. Flint, will you be picking this up?
Only if you want me to send you a copy.
Oh, for sure. I'm not sure if it'll be compatible with my 3DS, unfortunately, though.
Are they region locks?
I don't know. I'm not sure if the DS games are region locked or not. Ryu, do you know?
The new 3DS, the regular 3DS is, but I'm trying to remember if the new 3DS is region locked.
Hell, I'm not going out and buying a new 3DS just for that. I can wait.
Yeah. What I'm trying to remember, though, is whether or not the EU and the US have different regions as far as the 3DS is concerned. Japan and the US do, but I'm not sure about the others. It's mostly there, so Japanese people can't actually back import games.
Why the hell would you even want to do that?
Because it's ludicrously cheaper for them to import than buy it directly. I'm not even pretending.
Wow. That's kind of bizarre. Wow. Okay, so moving on into the major news from the last couple weeks. Obviously, as you all know, and if you don't know, well, this is going to come as a surprise to you somehow. We're actually got a bunch of news about the Final Fantasy VII Remake that has been released since the PlayStation experience. So to start with, I actually made mention last week mistakenly that I had thought that the Final Fantasy VII Remake was running on Unreal Engine 4, but I stood corrected initially because we figured that it was going to be running on the Final Fantasy 15 engine, and it turns out I was right after all. The Final Fantasy VII Remake is running on the Unreal Engine 4, so that's awesome. I know that the Batman Arkham games also run on the Unreal Engine, so I'm a pretty big fan of it. So
Yeah, the reason you probably thought it was running on Unreal Engine 4 is because it's been rumored ever since the E3 announcement came out.
yeah, you're probably right. I probably did catch that in a rumor mill somewhere. Also, big shout out to Lifestream member Hian or Hian, I'm not sure how he pronounces it, for translating the Famitsu and is it Dengeki, Ryu?
Yeah, Dengeki.
Dengeki interviews with Yoshinori Kitase and Tetsuya Nomura. Some very interesting notes from those interviews include stuff like they didn't add a subtitle to the Final Fantasy VII Remake because they felt that it would imply that it's a compilation title. They're doing the Final Fantasy VII Remake in installments because they stated it would. They felt it would have to become a digest version of the original, and they didn't want that. Cross-dressing Cloud will be included.
Yes,
Right?
As is the
That's the
only
important
proper
news.
way.
Right. There will be an ATB gauge, and you will have the ability to freely switch between 3 party members during battle, or just stick to one character at any time without issues. And
Yay.
exactly. They will be delving deeper into the stories, possibly adding content here and there. And you can actually catch the entirety of those interviews actually on the livestream.net. It's if you don't see it right on the front page, it's definitely in the news archives. You should definitely take some time to read it. I will actually link that up on the show notes. Obviously, like I said, they did announce that the Final Fantasy VII Remake is to be released in installments. And director Yoshinori Kitase released a statement through the Square Enix blog, admits some negative backlash to the announcement. His letter stated that for many years, people around the world have asked me, will you ever remake Final Fantasy VII? For many years, I gave the same answers, and on a personal level, having made the original Final Fantasy VII, did I really want to spend so many years making the same game again? With Final Fantasy VII Remake, we have the opportunity to go beyond the story, world, and experience of Final Fantasy VII in ways we've always dreamed of, from the depths of Midgar to the skies above the planet. The multi-part format enables us to expand the original story and turn it into an epic experience for fans and new gamers alike. This past weekend at PlayStation Experience, we were thrilled to present more of Final Fantasy VII Remake. It was great to see so much excitement when we surprised everyone with the first gameplay footage, and it was a treat for us to show that development is going well, and further along than perhaps many had realized. Just like when we revealed the announcement trailer at E3 earlier this year, we like surprising you. One thing that we wanted to be clear about during this weekend to accompany the new trailer was the scale of the project. We wanted to tell you this now, and not in the future, so that you'd share our vision for what we want to deliver. The biggest reason why we haven't done a remake until now is because it's a massive undertaking to reconstruct Final Fantasy VII from the ground up with the current technology. Producing a proper HD remake of Final Fantasy VII that maintains the same feeling of density of the original would result in a volume of content that couldn't possibly fit into one installment. We've seen everyone's comments and reactions to the news that Final Fantasy VII Remake will be a multi-part series, and many have speculated correctly as to the reason why we've made this decision. If we were to try to fit everything from the original into one remake installment, we would have to cut various parts and create a condensed version of Final Fantasy VII. We knew none of you would have wanted that. I hope that by explaining a little more about our design decisions that you can appreciate the size of this project and what we have planned for this remake. Going beyond the scale and depth of the world, narrative, and gameplay from the original to deliver something that feels familiar yet new. As I said before, we like delivering surprises. See you all soon and happy holidays, Yoshinori Kitase. I wanted to read that whole letter because it really does explain quite a bit about why they're doing the multiple installments for this game. And to me, it makes perfect sense. I don't understand the butt hurt.
I was skeptical at first. I mean, again, the words cash grab were bouncing around in my head, but after a few things, I've kind of come around to it. For one thing, I actually had a discussion with Daily Phillip. He's a guy who's done a video for the live stream before, and he's kind of an affiliate of ours. Great channel. You should check him out. And he explained that, basically the way it was going was kind of be like the adaptation of the Lord of the Rings if you were trying to do it all in one film. And also he said, and I didn't know this until he told me, is that CyberConnect 2 is actually the one behind the remake, and they're the ones who are behind the .hack games. And knowing how they handled episodic gaming with the .hack games, a lot of my concerns have been alleviated. They know how to handle the PNP, the pricing and pacing, and I think that alone is worth the price of admission. So I mean, I've come around to the idea.
I do think people have legitimate concerns about this, and I don't think it's very fair of you, Vader, to say that it's all butthurt. Because let's be fair, Square Enix haven't had a good track record for many years, and maybe they're coming around a little bit now. But if this project had happened a few years ago, we wouldn't have been that surprised if they had released 5 games at full price and expected people to buy all of those just to get the same experience they had in the first game.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying, Flint. But I guess the way that I'm looking at it is it could be worse. I mean, they could have announced this is coming to iOS and Android, and you're gonna
probably will.
You're gonna have to pay to unlock. It's all in-game unlocks and shit, in-game purchases. I sincerely hope that's not what it is.
If you want Yuffie and Vincent, well, if you want Yuffie out of the party, you have to pay money.
I sincerely hope that's not what it is. And I mean, people obviously.
It's if you want Ketchi out.
Yeah.
I mean, people obviously have a right to their opinion, of course. Some of the stuff that I personally had read just seemed a bit petty, I guess.
Butthurty?
Yes, butthurty, yes. It was very petty. So, I don't know. I guess I'm not butthurt about it. So, that's the best I can say.
Glad to hear it.
I mean, let's... I want to go ahead and read Tetsujin gave us some of his thoughts on this since he couldn't be with us tonight, and I want to share this. And then I've got some further exposition I want to do on this. Tet said, "I'm afraid that the multi-part approach will make it feel disjointed. I want the experience to be a coherent whole. Ideally, it would be nice if you could play through all the parts in one go, with at most needing to change the discs like in the original. I don't want each episode to be its own thing with its own set of opening credits and ending credits and such. I don't think the individual parts are going to stack like DLC, though. In the end, it should feel like one big Final Fantasy VII game instead of several smaller-sized ones, but I'm afraid that that's not going to be the case. Essentially, I want it to be like Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles on the Sega Mega Drive. That's Genesis for you US people."
And other places.
Oh, go ahead, Ryu.
Oh no, just being snarky.
Which was released in 2 parts, but is absolutely playable as a single game with no interruption. You could physically combine both cartridges into one game and then play through it as such. Where you'd normally see the ending credits for Sonic 3, the game would just transition into what would be the first zone of Sonic & Knuckles. It was multi-part or episodic gaming done right. So if you'd get Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, and it would basically attach the install file to Part 1 and essentially increase your game size instead of being a separate installment altogether, that would be the way to do it right, in my opinion. Also, optional content. Will each part have its own optional content? When I play Part 2, can I go back to areas from Part 1? If I missed something in Part 1, but I already started Part 2, how can I go back and get the thing and have it carry back over? Can each part be played on its own, or is a save file required? Could someone just buy the last part and then basically jump straight to the finale? What about leveling? Can I grind all the way to level 99 in Part 1 because I got bored waiting for Part 2, and then cheese my way through the other parts? Will there be a level cap until the next one, or will each episode see you start back at level 1 and be treated as a new game even when with save transfers? Are they all going to have their own trophy lists? And what do they mean by full-sized game? There is no universal standard for what constitutes a full-sized game, so how much content are we really going to get for each part? These are pretty much the questions I'm having right now. On the other hand, adding more things and confirming more exploration in places like Midgard gets me excited, and it's pretty much one of the things I wanted in a remake. All of which are valid questions, Tets.
I I have to draw the comparison again to Dot Hack, because you mentioned in particular like the ability to skip ahead and how you can go back to previous parts. Obviously, accepting the obvious criticism that yes, Dot Hack is a very different game from Final Fantasy. The way it was handled was that you had the option, and the preferred method of playing was to carry your content over from one part to the other. But if you got a later part, your characters would be leveled to a low tier appropriate amount. You would have a certain amount of items needed to get through, and you would have to redo side quests in the original parts that you didn't complete. But some essential ones, like getting characters, would already be done for you. It wasn't the preferred method, and it didn't really give you any advantage to do it that way, but it could be done. I don't know if they're going to do it this way, though, because obviously, again, it's a very different beast. But that said, it'd be interesting if they went that route.
Yeah, I mentioned that previously that I thought, or previous to us actually starting recording, that I thought that a decent way to do this might be the way that Telltale releases their games, like such as the Walking Dead seasons and the Wolf Among Us and Game of Thrones, basically where you're paying for a season pass, and then they release a new part once every few months or whatever, as a part of that season pass until you get the complete story. And they don't make you go through an opening and closing credits scene after each episode. They just make you go through that, obviously, at the beginning of the first episode, and then the closing credits at the end of the entire season. So it does not allow you to go back and in the newer episodes, you can't go back in those same episodes and do stuff from the previous episodes. Your decisions that you made in the previous episodes carry forward to each of the new episodes. So I think that might be a decent way to go about it. Could be wrong. I really have no idea how they're going to approach it, but
what I'd like to see them do is something very similar. I'd like to see them get to a specific... Like, I don't want them to do exactly like the Telltale with, specific areas being gated only to a certain episode. Though I would like to see, like, your place in the plot-based, gating is fine. But, at the end, let us go everywhere again. Let us go all the way back to Midgar. But what I'd like to see is not exactly the same as the start and stop points of the discs, but I'd like to see them go to specific points and then end the episode and then start up basically immediately thereafter. And once it, goes to be continued, you still get to run around and level. But because of the way that EXP works, you wouldn't get much until the new one comes back up, to keep you from going all the way to 99 and then being way too bored from being way too powerful. You don't want to One Punch Man this. But no, like, and specifically, here's what I'd love for them to do. Like, I don't know if they want to do this, like, whenever they get to it, either at the end of the first one, and then the second one, or whatever, I want them to end one of the chapters right before going to find Aerith in the Forgotten City. Not after. I want you to start with that. Start each episode with the world's gone to shit. Here's how it's gone to shit. Deal with it. Like, one episode starts right after Cloud gives Sephiroth the black materia and meteors in the sky. World's gone to shit. Deal with it.
So, in your perfect, let's say in your perfect scenario, Ryu, how many installments do they release of this?
No more than 5, but ideally 3 or 4, depending on how much they want to add.
Yeah. What I'm really scared of is that they end up adding too much, or to the point that it ruins the experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess how much more do we really need to know about Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse, for instance? They're side characters.
We need to know all the things about them. And also, there's a new guy who's been added, Porkums. He's really skinny. and this new guy, Duke, Cloud Skimmer. Yeah, he's this great character Cloud knew from childhood. He plays a big role. But his dad works for Shinra now, and he's not even the same person.
Flint, you got any other thoughts on that?
I actually share most of the concerns that Tetsuya raised at the beginning. My idea would be maybe 2 or 3 parts. Obviously, 1 part would be brilliant, but we know they're not going to do that. I don't think there should be too many restrictions, like you were talking about the level cap or anything. If you look back to the original game, it's possible to reach level 99 at the first save point in the game.
Right.
God knows why you would do that, but someone has done it. You can go to YouTube and find them. So it should be at least possible to do that, I think, so that you're not kind of restricting the players in their freedom too much.
Oh yeah, no, it shouldn't be a literal level cap. It should be a practical level cap. In that, like, because the person who went to level 99 at the first reactor actually, took, I don't even remember he maxed out the in-game counter and kept counting to see how long it took.
Yeah, I think it was hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
Good night.
So...
But credit to him, I mean, someone had to do it, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like the guy I heard about who had gotten his party to level 70 or something in the Evil Forest in Final Fantasy IX just to do it.
That's actually a really bad idea because of the way the leveling works in that game. People probably know this already, but you get better bonuses when you level up if you're wearing good equipment. So if you are leveling a lot at the beginning of the game when you have the worst equipment, then your characters are permanently going to be worse than they could have been.
Totally.
The best way to play that game is to rush right to the ending and screw all that story. It's not important.
You can still go and watch the story while staying at level 1 for the whole game.
Yeah.
Somebody got Excalibur 2.
Somebody is going to do that on this run, I think, when we finally get around to it in the retrospective.
Not going to be me. I'm just calling it right now. I'm having enough trouble with my damn 4 Thieves challenge. I'm not doing an Excalibur 2 run. Screw that noise.
All right. So the next piece of Final Fantasy VII Remake news we had is, according to a new article in Famitsu, the first scenario for the Final Fantasy VII Remake is completed, and this is all coming courtesy of Jamatsu.com. The article includes some interesting tidbits, including Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse being featured more prominently. Square Enix is not yet ready to reveal the number of installments in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. The Kingdom Hearts development team is assisting with technical knowledge on the Unreal 4 engine. Cloud's hallucination scenes will apparently be more meaningful.
Which I think they mean easier to understand.
Hopefully.
Because they meant a lot, but they were very bizarre and scattered when they first showed up.
Agreed. The Japanese voice actors are the same from Advent Children, though Red 13's is likely to be changed. So for those of you wanting to play the game in Japanese, that might burst your bubble if you like the original Red 13 actor.
I'm not surprised that it happened because he's very...
This time you're getting an actual wolf.
Why would they get a wolf?
Now, there's going to be somebody who's going to say it should be a cat. Thank you. We had that whole argument on the Lifestream forums there.
I mean, what it is that he's a cat dog. And one fine day with a whiff and a whiff and a purr.
Oh, God, shut up. Stop it. God.
A baby was born that is caused a big stir.
As well as limit breaks, there is an attack system based upon the player's fighting style. And
I'm quite intrigued by that.
Yeah, me too.
The only similar thing that I've seen to that has been in the some of the Tales games, like Tales of Symphonia. But even then, it doesn't really make much difference. So I'm kind of interested to see how they're going to do it.
Yeah, hopefully, I mean, when I first read it, I was kind of confused. I thought maybe it might be more accurate to say that it's an attack system based upon the individual characters' fighting styles, but I don't know. It should be interesting to see how they do that.
It might be talking about they might be adopting a system similar to what they did for Lightning Returns, where in addition to limit breaks, the actual way that you control her actually changes the control of the flow of battle.
Could be that. Interesting.
It was more execution focused, and that's actually one of the best things about that game was that it was very execution focused. Because I mean, in these games, it's really all about the preparation. The fact that we can get something that combines the two is actually quite exciting. And from what I was looking at in the trailer, it looks like there's definitely a combination of the two going on there. I don't think they're completely abandoning the turn necessarily.
No, they're not at all, because they've got the ATB, they've got the menu. But the question is, what is the turn going to be exactly? Is it sort of going to be more, like the classic ATB or the newer ATB? Because they've changed the ATB up several times.
Last piece of news out of that, or the last interesting note that they gave us, it has not been decided yet whether or not the player can guard against attacks. I think that's kind of bizarre.
Well, no, I mean, the question of whether to have a dodge system or a guard system in place as opposed to having it be random happenstance, because it might actually, I could actually see it as being tied to a materia, sort of like cover. But that's a question of how much they want to make it active, whether or not they want to keep you moving and attacking,
right,
or you can set somebody to guard or not, or if there's going to be an active guard system like in Kingdom Hearts.
I will link to this Gematsu article that they had posted, and also keep an eye on the live stream because TLS member Hian will be posting up a full translation of that Famitsu article along with scans of the article here in the coming days here, so pretty excited to read the full thing.
Nice.
So moving on from the big Final Fantasy VII Remake news, starting actually yesterday, Cloud's DLC for Smash Brothers for the Wii U and 3DS is available. The DLC includes a Midgar stage, priced at $5.99 US. Looks like $5.99. What? I'm sorry, I don't know the
euros.
Is it euros? Okay. I don't know all the different
euros and then pounds, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah. So yeah, $5.99 in US and euros. $5 or £5, 39. Is that 39 cents? Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pence.
Or pence.
Is it pence? Okay.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
I mean, it's effectively the same but different.
Yeah.
It's still decimal system.
So
it used to be complicated.
Looks like that's the price for one platform, and then looks like it's about $1 more for both the Wii U and 3DS platforms together. So not too bad. Not too bad at all. And thanks very much to Tetsuya for throwing up that article on the TLS website here. You can check that out.
Have any of you played this today?
No.
Not yet.
I have neither platforms, though. I can't.
I'm going to download it once this is done.
Right.
I considered trying yesterday, but the servers were just getting hammered, so I said I will wait till tomorrow. I considered doing it before today, but I was busy, or before the recording today.
I saw someone post a weird Cloud Kirby hybrid picture on Facebook earlier.
That would be Kirby's
bizarre.
power. He sucks in somebody, pops them out, and gets their hair and their neutral B. You should see the Kirby Bayonetta. Oh, the Kirby Bayonetta art is great.
Oh God!
And apparently slightly terrifying for people.
That's a horrible thought. That's oh my God! It's basically like putting a teddy bear in bondage gear. I did not want to think of that.
All right. Well, on that thought, we'll move on.
The actual Kirby Bayonetta just has Bayonetta's hair and glasses. It's
okay.
So it's just some of the fan art is bizarrely hilarious. Like Kirby with ridiculously long Bayonetta legs.
You'll have to give us an update, Ryu, and let us know how you like the cloud stuff.
Oh, I definitely will.
I'm getting a 3DS for Christmas, so maybe then.
I was just wondering, I mentioned my Smash-loving friend on the podcast before, and he's been giving me his thoughts on playing with Cloud today, if you wanted to hear them.
Yeah, please.
Oh, yeah.
Well, okay, he said that it's very fun to play. He's a really fast and powerful character who lacks in recovery, which is kind of a balance thing, except for when he's got his limit break activated. The limit break charges when you both deal and take damage, but you can charge it manually. I watched a video on YouTube earlier. It takes a long time, so this is the kind of thing you're going to want to do when your enemies are far away from you on the stage. It seems like once you've charged your limit bar fully, it only lasts for one attack, just like in Final Fantasy VII, I guess. And it just makes you...
One special attack, specifically. I think you can use it several times with your standards.
Oh, quite possibly, yeah. So yeah, it improves your standard attacks and also gives you access to finishing touch, which seems to be a limit break only thing, which knocks enemies really far away.
Finishing touch replaces your standard charge up your limit break move. So it has...
That's right, yeah.
No percentile add, but has huge knockback. So it's literally a finishing move.
Yeah, and then I asked him about the summons, and we were speculating about this a couple of weeks ago, that they are like a random stage event in Midgar. The materia of spawns and floats around, and then you have to touch it, and then the summon happens, and that's it.
Well, the summons happens, it affects the stage, they can KO people, and if you're the one who touched the summon, the summon KOing somebody counts for you. So it counts as your kill.
Nice.
Interesting.
Yeah, then he sent me a screenshot of a tournament he was involved in where about half of the players were Cloud, so he seems to be pretty popular today.
Did I see somebody post a screenshot of Cloud taking on Don Corneo?
That was one of the Mii fighters, yeah. That was actually on the Lifestream's Facebook page.
No, I can't wait until the next tournament where it's just Cloud, Ryu, and Bayonetta.
Bring back Solid Snake.
Listen, we're allowed one perfectly formed butt per game, and that's Bayonetta.
Oh, Christ.
If we had two perfect butts, the universe would collapse in on itself.
All right. Moving on to the next piece of news here. Thought we'd take a second here to give out an update on the Final Fantasy Retrospective series. Right now, Ryu, Jason, and I are playing through Final Fantasy III. I can give mine update real quick. I have no update because I've not been able to play in a few weeks. Been super, super busy with work and doing Christmas, so... have not had time, so...
No Christmas for you until you get to the next crystal.
Well, thankfully, I have basically a 2-week company shutdown starting Friday, so I have Final Fantasy III on the mind.
Good, you better get to the crystal before the 25th, then. I'm holding you to this, man. If not, I'm going to come to your house and steal all your Christmas. I know this guy. He's called Rupert Grinch. Yeah, he'll help.
Oh, that was...
So, JT, where are you at?
I actually, just earlier, got to the Fire Crystal, but I lost to the Salamander boss because I made the heinous mistake of, for one thing, not equipping any ice shields on anybody, and two, I went into the battle with only one black mage, and only that black mage could cast Blizzara. And I had an Arctic Wind, but I made the mistake of having my white mage use it instead of my black mage. So this is all jumble if you haven't played the game. Essentially, I got my balls rocked, and I'm hoping to go back at it when I have a proper party.
I just punched him to death.
Where are you at, Ryu?
I'm in the Gold Mansion. This is later on after you get off the island. Spoiler, you're on an island. You get off it. There's shit that happens. but I need to get my airship back, and he's got the key to the chain. So I've basically got the boot on my airship, and I need to beat this guy up to get it back. Also, apparently he has the last crystal. He doesn't. There's a lot more until that crystal.
By your remark of punching it to death, I assume you're using a 4-monk party?
I am not. I'm only using a 1-monk party at the moment, just to keep it interesting. But I am running Luneth as a monk, and he's job level 99, so I'm punching things to death very quickly.
Good lord. I played the early phase of the game as a all red mage party, but then it started to amp up, and I've switched it over to the party I had in Final Fantasy I, which was a warrior, white mage, black mage, red mage party. But I didn't manage my guild well, and so I have to go and rebuy some spells because I don't have backup copies of some of the essential spells like Cura and Lazara.
Oh, that's another interesting thing I should mention about my save at the moment. I don't know how, but Luneth, who is not intended to be my caster at all, currently has all of the summon spells. So I'm trying to remember why I added them all to him. Or if I did, or if it's just an aberration from the original hex setting I did to... Because the file I'm on, I started it up just to show off a bunch of the weapons for an article we did long ago. And I'm trying to remember why I did some of the things I did. I'm not using any of the spells I shouldn't have. I'm not using any of the... I mean, I can't. I don't have the class or the levels for it. And I'm not using any of the weapons I shouldn't until I can. I'm trying to do this as by the book as I can. It's just funny to go and like, where did I get that from? Oh well. But yeah, so Punchmaster Luneth and his merry band of misfits are currently trying to rob a man blind.
Better than trying to rob a blind man.
No, they've done that already.
All right, and our last piece of news comes courtesy of our good friend Flint. Flint, do you want to give us an update on the music bracket contest?
I sure can. As of recording, we are now at the semi-final stage. By the time this is published, there may still be a semi-final open, or we may already be into the final and the third place playoff. Our last 4 songs are Libri Fatali from Final Fantasy VIII, the main theme of Final Fantasy VII, Genova from Final Fantasy VII, and Not Alone from Final Fantasy IX. If you're not already a member of the Lifestream.net forums, then come on over and cast your vote for which one of those songs is your favorite.
Absolutely, and I'm actually excited that we didn't end up with all Final Fantasy VII songs in the Final 4.
I agree, and there may have been an element of tactical voting from people who didn't want to see 4 Final Fantasy VII songs, but I don't think there can be too many complaints about the ones we've got. They're all pretty good.
Yes, for sure.
Oh yeah. I'm amazed that Libri Fatali did as well as it did.
I have to admit, I'm heartbroken that Xanakin didn't make it into the Final 4. It's such a beautiful song.
It is, but I actually didn't vote for it when we got down to the last 8 because it came up against the main theme of Final Fantasy VII, and in comparison to that song, Xanakin just feels kind of simplistic.
Flint, when is this particular round over?
The semifinals will close in 3 days' time. So let's see, that will be
the 19th?
Sunday.
Yeah.
Saturday the 19th, yeah.
Okay, Saturday the 19th. Okay. So Saturday the 19th, the semifinals will close, folks. So if you're not a member, register and vote on the contest for us. And when do you anticipate starting the final round, Flint?
That'll be on Sunday.
Okay, perfect. All right. So with the news and notes closed out, we'll move right on into the main topic. Given that we are about a little over a week away from Christmas, I thought it would be fun to discuss a little bit about our favorite holiday Final Fantasy memories. some of us have some really great stories to tell. Some of us don't. But I thought this would be a fun topic here, since and be quite topical, as it were. So, Flint, do you have a story to share?
No, I fall squarely into the second category you mentioned there. People who don't have an interesting story.
Can you make up a story to share?
Well, when I was a kid and it was Hanukkah in the Lewison household, no, I do come from a Jewish family, so we only sort of celebrated Christmas. I don't know. We did get Christmas gifts. We may have got Final Fantasy from someone some year, and then we played it. Interesting story ends there.
Yeah, Flint, you had mentioned I thought you were joking when I asked you if you would mind making a Christmassy themed Final Fantasy graphic, and you kind of mentioned in passing that something about being Jewish, and I thought you were joking. So,
well, no, I'm definitely an atheist nowadays. But
so you're Jewish, is what you're saying?
Half Jewish.
Yeah. I've never
Technically,
met
no.
a believing Jew. All the Jews I've met are cultural, not religious.
Well, I have met many believing
Oh,
Jews,
no, I
or
know-
at least they tell me that they believe.
I know
but
they exist. Logically, they have to. I just have never met them.
I see. By the way, I will still make you that graphic, even though it goes against all that I hold dear,
Which is
aka atheism.
Well, I didn't say you had to put a picture of Jesus on it, man.
Yeah, but if I don't, then people are going to complain about it being a plain red logo, and then they're going to come in and ask us to write Merry Christmas on it. And
split the difference. Put Moses on a cross.
all right, deal.
God bless us, everyone.
Oh, Lord. We're all going to hell.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Well, I'm going to the special hell.
if you need
I talk in
ideas,
movie
I've been
theaters.
doing that 12. There is a special hell for you.
And I get to beat up child
You
molesters
and like
forever.
every
It's
single
great.
girl on the back row.
Okay, that went
No,
really
How
dark.
come in every,
It's a
how
reference
come
to Firefly.
every single movie theater? How come every single movie theater in the United States, there's always that back row where like all the fucking loud people sit?
Or
And this is me talking.
or the people with the laser fucking pointers.
I'm not
Oh,
one
God,
of those
those
people.
kids.
I'm not a back row talker.
He's a
Okay.
fun road talker.
I sit in the front right, and
Oh.
I get my two robot buddies.
Oh, Lord.
Well,
JT, how about you?
yeah. First off, just a tiny plug to something that's not really super noteworthy, but just something I've been doing. I've been doing this FanWorks thing. I am the FanWorks editor, and I haven't had a good project idea in a while. So I've been doing this 12 FanWorks of Christmas thing, and it's basically just holiday-themed FanWorks that I've been sharing up on the days leading up to Christmas. So if you need ideas, Flint, there's a whole bunch of good stuff in there. I posted just today, my friend Jacob shared this lovely little picture of a cactar Christmas tree, which is pretty freaking hilarious. But anyways, getting on to my personal holiday memories, Christmas is kind of Final Fantasy time, or at least it was growing up in the Tandro household. Most notably, was the one that I know that was specifically on Christmas and around Christmas time was in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. I can't remember exactly when, but it was when Pizza Hut was running that promotion with the demo discs that they would give when you got a stuffed crust pizza. And the demo discs, they had two of them for PlayStation, and one of them included a demo for Final Fantasy VIII. Now you have to understand, and I mentioned this before, Final Fantasy VIII was the second Final Fantasy I ever played after Final Fantasy III on the SNES.
Can I ask how old you were,
JT?
JT?
God, fuck if I know. I was like 10 or 11,
Oh,
maybe.
Christ. Okay, moving on. Continue your story.
Yeah, I don't remember.
In
I don't
the
remember, dude.
make,
It's been
make
a
feel
long time.
old section of this podcast.
Yes. Yes.
But suffice to say, we had a PlayStation. Spyro the Dragon was the shit, and we love demo discs. And the reason we love demo discs is because we had a PlayStation, but we were still broke as hell. The only time we ever got like full on games was during the holidays. Everything else we depended upon like magazine based demo discs or the free demo discs that you would get with the console. I can tell you, I played the original demo disc with the original console like constantly. But anyways, I played this Final Fantasy VIII demo, and you have to understand, going from 6 to 8, for one thing, the graphical leap was astonishing, and just seeing, realistic characters in this military outfit and doing the Dole mission, albeit with Renoa in place of Selphie, oddly enough, and she wasn't in uniform. It blew my mind. And the following winter, the following Christmas, we ended up getting Final Fantasy VIII, the full frickin' game, and it was like the best thing ever. So that was the first time I got Final Fantasy as a Christmas present. Now, I remember my brother Chris probably played 6 around wintertime, but I can't say for certain it was a holiday present. The only other thing that I remember that I definitely got on Christmas was Final Fantasy X, and I know that because I got that again, originally in demo disc form. I got the PS2 when it came out. We got it the year after that. We got it for Christmas. Me and my sister got that. We got the jam-packed demo disc that had Final Fantasy X demo on it, and that was the first time I heard voice acting. The first time I got the amazing glimpse at what Final Fantasy X was going to deliver. It had the initial Xanarkand section and a little bit of Besaid Island, and I played that so freaking much. And then, again, the following Christmas, like we'd always done, it seemed like every time we went to the next Christmas, we got the game we played the demo for, it seemed like. But yeah, next Christmas, we got Final Fantasy X, but we didn't get a memory card. My dad didn't understand that you had to have a memory card for these games because he was used to cartridge gaming.
Oh, that sucks.
So me and my sister would leave the console running. And I remember because we had collectively been playing the game for about 20 hours and got all the way up to the Seymour fight in the Macalania Temple, and I died to Anima, and I lost all my progress.
Shitty.
And
Iron Man run.
And I just started playing. I just started playing over again because I didn't have a memory card. We didn't get a memory card until February of that year. I played for 2 months without a memory card.
You played a lot
Holy
of Blitzball.
God, man.
Yeah, that's what it's like to grow up in the ghetto. All right, that was how we survived being broke. Okay, the only
playing Blitzball on the mean streets to survive.
No, man.
Well done on dying at that Anima battle, by the way. I think that if you didn't die the first time you got there, then you were doing something wrong.
I might have been doing something wrong. I don't know.
That was one of those battles that snuck up on you, because every boss fight before them was a complete freaking breeze. So it was like, okay. But the only other thing, one last thing that I can think of that was definitely Christmas related was not actually a game, but I got a art book for Final Fantasy IX for Christmas, and I gave it away as a Christmas present to a girl that I had a crush on. Again, this is when I was like 13 or what have you.
Oh, JT.
And I regret that decision so much because it is hard as hell to find that art book at a reasonable price.
I still have that art book.
Tisk, tisk.
Of course you do.
Yeah, I mean, you gave it to me long ago.
And can I say your breasts have only gotten perkier?
Wow.
Oh, they're so fabulous.
The Lifestream Podcast After Dark.
Oh, boy. And on that note, Ryu, how about you?
So one thing I just want to comment, I always pronounced it Dalit, and so I was confused for a second. Apparently the original pronunciation is Doru. But that weirdness aside, my Final Fantasy Christmas memory is Final Fantasy IV. Got it the year it came out.
What a great memory. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I got that. I played it. I basically sat down and didn't stop playing it. So I think I went to sleep sometime on Boxing Day at the final boss. So yeah.
So you got Final Fantasy II for the SNES,
Yep.
Brand new, huh?
Yep.
That's fucking amazing.
Oh,
That's
yes.
awesome.
And yeah, I just sat down and I just rocketed through that game.
So is that going to bring up sweet nostalgic memories for you when we get to Final Fantasy IV on the retrospective series?
Oh, absolutely. It's not the first one I played, but it is the first one I beat. Because I'd played a friend's copy, well, not a friend's, a neighbor's copy of one years before. Well, more like a year before. But yeah, I was a wee lad. of 7. Nearly 8.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You guys are killing me.
But keep in mind,
you're the one who asked all the youngsters on the show.
This was in 91. So.
Yeah. God.
Then many years later, I got a ROM of the remake well before it actually came out. Also, right near December, and was obsessing over that.
When you say remake, I assume you're referring
remake.
to the DS remake.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Which is, in my opinion, dishearteningly worse than the original.
I mean, it's meant to be the challenge for people who played the original, but it's definitely not something you should come into the series on.
No.
Yeah.
The original is much better, at least the GBA version.
Oh, the GBA... Well, I think the PSP version is the definitive of it now. Because that's got all the stuff that they added to the GBA version, improved graphics all around, not just the character sprites, and better sound channels for the music.
Yeah, I've got the PSP version. I just haven't gotten around to playing it yet.
Yeah, I'm going to be running through that one when we get to it.
Yeah, same here.
Same here.
Avoid
We'll
the
be playing the
after
same game for
years. Don't do it.
It's on the roadmap, unfortunately.
I know, but save
But for
yourself
much later.
until we have to.
No, that's no problem. I've seen Darth Kefka's reviews of that where he's been talking about the series. That's enough to turn me off.
Like it's like it's just got a lot of irritating. Aside from the plot, which is kind of to naff, it's got a lot of irritating design decisions. Like you permanently lose characters for later chapters unless you do these bizarre, basically grindy side quests to find these, vital items that are all random drops. Like in one chapter, you play as Luca and her 2 robot buddies, her 2 dolls, and they get broken unless you find gears in random fights so that you can repair them.
He did mention the drop rate is insane, especially since the essential items have a insanely low drop rate. Apparently, he's been playing that game multiple times for just like blind let's plays and for reviews and stuff like that. And there are still items he hasn't gotten in drops yet after years of playing.
I would not hold it against anybody who is playing that game to use cheats to increase the drop rate dramatically. Like we're talking that the rat tail is a higher chance drop than some of these. And the rat trail has a 1 in 64 in 1 in 64 chance of dropping. It's a 1 in 64 chance of the monster showing up, and then a 1 in 64 chance of that monster dropping it.
So 1 in 1,028 chance of being dropped altogether. Wow. Okay.
I'm wondering how that compares to some things in Final Fantasy XII, like the Danjuro. It's probably quite similar.
Yeah, for sure. I guess for my Christmas Final Fantasy related memory, I have just one. I'm going to take you back to 1997. My brother and I did not have a Sony PlayStation at the time. We had a Super Nintendo and we had a Sega Genesis, and we had been begging our parents for a PlayStation for Christmas pretty much since like August of that year. And the number one game that we wanted for PlayStation was Final Fantasy VII. And we basically begged our parents daily for PlayStation and Final Fantasy VII all the way up till Christmas. And of course, my parents saved the PlayStation and Final Fantasy VII as the very last gifts of the morning. And we opened it, and we both just about fell over from excitement over having that. We marched directly into my room, plugged it into the TV, and I let my brother get first dibs on it. He played till about the first save point and got bored and handed the controller over to me. I restarted, played it all the way up from the beginning, and I didn't put the controller down through the whole Christmas break and ended up beating the game by the end of Christmas break.
Wow.
Yeah. I fucking loved Final Fantasy VII, and it is absolutely one of my favorite memories of any Christmas, really. Mostly because of how excited my dad was to have been able to get that for us. My dad didn't work in the greatest place in the world, and he always him and my mom both actually always kind of struggled with money. I mean, we weren't poor or anything like that. We were very much middle class, but he always kind of stressed over Christmas and was really stressing that Christmas because of the expensive things that my brother and I had asked for. And my dad actually teared up when he saw our reaction. So that will always have a special place in my heart for that.
You reminded me that I do actually have a Final Fantasy related Christmas story. And it's also to do with Final Fantasy VII, although it's not as moving as your one. In fact, it's a little bit embarrassing.
Well, that means you have to share it even more.
Well, this is not a story of Christmas Day, but probably a few days before or after. My brother and I usually visited Finland to see our grandmother and grandfather when he was still alive, because we're half Finnish, half British. And our grandmother was going to get us a games console for Christmas. And we went to the store with her, and we were so set on getting a Nintendo 64 right up until we were in the store. And then I don't know why, but we just looked at each other and said, why don't we get a PlayStation? So we did. And I'm pretty sure that was on Christmas. And if I hadn't made that decision with him that day, then, you'd probably find me on zeldadungeon.net or something instead of the livestream.net. I don't think Final Fantasy VII itself was a Christmas gift, or it may have been the next year. But the first time we played that, we couldn't figure out which button to press to start the game for maybe half an hour. We were kids, remember? And then we got to the first save point and thought, what the hell is this game? And we stopped playing for about a year. And we'd read such good reviews about it, and then it just seemed so strange. Like, all the turn-based battles were completely new to us. Neither of us had played an RPG before. So we were very disappointed, and it's to my brother's credit that he was the one to eventually pick it up again and carry on. Otherwise, I don't know when I would have done.
So Final Fantasy VII was your first Final Fantasy then, Flint?
It was, yeah.
Right on. What a great place to start with the series, too.
Yeah, I mean, people often criticize people who started off with Final Fantasy VII, saying that it kind of colors their judgment about it, and the main reason people like it is nostalgia, but obviously we know they're talking rubbish.
Exactly.
Well, the same argument can be made of any Final Fantasy that you start with.
Except
pretty much
for two.
anything you start with is going to have a special place.
Oh, I started with the original Final Fantasy on Nintendo, so I don't think it's clouded my judgment much, other than being able to say that it made me love JRPGs. So,
I mean, I either started with 1 or 4, depending on how you count it, so whatever.
And I started with 6, and that game is just astounding, and anybody who thinks otherwise is wrong. So there you go.
Flint, that actually is a really good story, though. Thanks for sharing.
No problem.
By the way, just on a finishing note to my story, my father is actually no longer with us, so that he passed away in 2006. So that Final Fantasy memory, every time I pull out my copy of Final Fantasy VII, I think about him. So it's definitely a fond way to remember him. So move on to something happier here. We did get some listener memories, which I'm really excited about reading off. I actually haven't read any of these yet. We got an email from Brandon. Flint, do you want to read this one?
So Brandon says, I received Final Fantasy VII when I was about 10 years old, which was 6 or 7 years ago now. It was from my grandfather, who had gotten a new system and was looking to get rid of his PS1 games. He gave them all to me. A notable title included was Fire Emblem 3.
He means Breath of Fire 3.
And that
Fire Emblem 3 has never been released in the States. And was never on a PlayStation console. I just want to put that out there for everybody who'd be confused by that.
He continues, in that batch of games rested Final Fantasy VII, and at the time I had no idea what I'd been given. I remember looking at the cover with the guy with a huge sword on his back and thinking that I'd give this game a try. Maybe I'd like it, maybe I wouldn't. It turned out to be my favourite game of all time. To think that I could have just as easily have not played a game that impacted me so much is incredible, almost appalling. I have to be thankful to my grandfather for giving it to me, but also my parents for not allowing me to use the internet at that age. Otherwise I would have played this game with a tainted perspective, knowing all about the heart-wrenching scene centered around blank. Yeah, Eris, sorry.
Oh, I thought
Most
he
people
meant
of my
Ken
age-
Shi.
He actually mentions him in a minute. Most people my age play Final Fantasy VII well aware of what happens, but I got to play it without any spoilers. I fell in love with the game, its story, its characters, except KT, its gameplay, and the music. Altogether, it created something that is hard to express through words how powerful it was. And to think it's getting a remake, now we can relive the amazing story with more detail and updated graphics, one can only hope that the wait isn't as long as Final Fantasy 15.
Why do you people hate XIII, okay? When I was a kid, he was like one of my favorite characters, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, maybe he was not so useful in combat as everyone else, but I thought the concept was hilarious.
I think it's because he betrays you. I think that's why a lot of people are tainted about it. And because he specifically mocks the noble sacrifice that people think was happening with Aerith, and so they get mad about it.
I didn't hate him at all. I just never used him. And I think the reason why I never used him as a character was because I didn't understand him. I didn't get it. I didn't actually fully understand what they were doing with his character until much later on when I discovered Final Fantasy VII fan websites and it was explained what the fuck was actually going on with his character and stuff. And it finally dawned on me, oh, okay. So, now I totally get it. I still don't ever use him when I play the game, but at least I get him now.
He was very useful as a damage sponge, because I don't know if maybe he had like a really jacked up endurance stat, but for some reason it felt like he could take more damage than the other guys, except for Barrett. And apparently it felt like he had a higher skill with manipulation, but maybe I'm wrong about that too.
I think he just came equipped with it.
Maybe
he had a pretty good magic score, which helped. I don't think he had a specific, specific stat bonus to it.
Probably wasn't tailor-made, yeah. Yeah, I don't think it was tailor-made for that. I just think he was good at it because of his stats as a Leia or what have you. I just like the character. I mean, again, even with the betrayal, which, if you think about it, is assuming Kate Sith is an I, or Kate Shi, or however you want to pronounce it, is a AI that is being remoted in by Reeve. Technically, it's not his fault. It's Reeve's. But even so, I mean, it's a cat riding a giant Mog. I thought that was adorable when I was a kid.
Can I speak out on Brandon's behalf here? First of all, I'd like to say that his story is quite similar to mine, getting Final Fantasy VII around the age of 10 from a grandparent. Also, I don't like Kate. I'm just going to call him Kate so I don't have to worry about the pronunciation.
It is Kate Shi.
You've been... I know, but yeah. I'm not sure that betrayal is the right word, because Kate really doesn't ever have a reason to join the party. He says that he wants to find what the meaning of his fortune is when he makes a prediction for Cloud and whoever he's wandering around the gold saucer with. But then Cloud's like, no, you're not coming with us. And then he walks into Cloud and then just sticks with you.
I'm going into the party space, deal with it.
Yeah, but why couldn't have Cloud just said, what the fuck are you doing? I'm not moving until you get out of my party. So for me, there was no reason for him to ever be in the party in the first place. Then there was the betrayal, which made you think oh, why the hell have I been carrying this guy around for all this time? And then even after that, he's never really that useful unless you can be bothered to do the slot manipulation.
Yes. Totally agree. He's just completely useless.
I'm going to say, in a bizarre reversal of all logic that people might think, I liked him in Dirge of Cerberus. I think that game needed more of him. Mostly to break up the drudgery of just being Vincent, but yeah, I actually liked his stealth segments.
I agree. That was actually kind of fun.
I actually think that if the thing that Dirge of Cerberus needed wasn't less Vincent, but more of everybody else. Like a level as Yuffie, a level as Cloud, a level as Tifa. You know.
Oh my god, imagine like a Devil May Cry style
exactly.
level with Yuffie.
And there's a perfect point in the game for it too when she rescues him, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, I have to admit, I usually don't use Yuffie either. In fact, my parties usually consist of... I usually use Cloud, Barrett, and Aerith all the way up to the end of the first disc, and then my party becomes Cloud, Vincent, and Sid for the remainder of the game.
I think the theoretical optimal party is Cloud, Vincent, Yuffie, because they have the most hitting limit breaks, and everything else you can fudge.
I think Highwind actually has the most hits for a limit break, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Agreed.
And then
And
is it
Ungamax.
Omnislash and then Yuffie's, or is it the other way around? But
Yuffie's final is
not her final.
Is a single
it's
hit,
her
if I'm not
third level
mistaken.
one.
We're talking Doom of the Living.
She for some reason, like I understand her final one is kind of underwhelming, but because of the fact that you can max out damage, I think it is Doom of the Living has either the third or the second most hits of all the limits. Maybe the third.
I think it's the third most after Omnislash.
Yeah.
I thought Ungamax was up there as well, but I might be mistaken.
Ungamax is probably, that's a good point. Ungamax, even though it doesn't hit for as much as the other three,
Ungamax,
it has more hits.
It's interesting. I think the Ungamax is specifically most notable because it's got this interesting underflow mechanic that you can abuse with it and Barrett's final weapon. Because it has to do with the AP attached to his... Anyways.
Can we hold this discussion back until we get to this on the retrospective?
I was about to say we don't actually need to discuss all this here.
No, I would like to cover off what someone is inevitably going to write in about Kate, though, which is that he is one of the best magic users in the game. But, of course, stats are kind of arbitrary in Final Fantasy VII with the ability to use sources anyway.
I think he has the highest natural.
I'm not sure if Cloud beats him, but apart from that... and Aeris is definitely
sources and plus materia
can't be used for much of the game. Carry on.
Getting to more responses from our listeners here. We did get several responses from the Lifestream forums. JT, you want to take this first one from the Lifestream forums?
From the Lifestream's forums. Let me see here.
It would be from Red FF Wolf.
Yeah, I gotta actually click on the link there because it wasn't in the agenda. And it's the Christmas themed one. You put the Christmas banner on there. Nice. Okay, I know you just linked through it that way, but whatever. I'm excited, man. It gets me in the mood. Okay, what's up? Red FF Wolf. Shut up, Cortana. Okay, I activated my Cortana by me doing that somehow. God, computers suck. Okay, Red FF Wolf says, when I was 14, 10 years ago, I asked for the OSTs for Final Fantasy VII, VIII, IX, and X for Christmas. My parents, void of any internet experience and knowledge, had to ask some neighbors to get them for us. Probably the first thing ever purchased online within our household. On top of the OSTs, they got me a Walkman, a good old CD player, not a fancy branded one or anything like that. The OSTs were costly enough, and were generally piss poor at the time. Still, it must have been a really good year for us. And man, I slept with it, switching discs during the night and falling asleep with tangled earphones. Are you going to sleep, Alan? Switch off that music. No, Ma, fuck off. He wants to point out, didn't actually happen, but I'd like to think that I'd have won such a battle. It was just the passion I had for that music when I first got it. Even PC games would be muted, and Final Fantasy music would be playing over where it should have been there. Playing Final Fantasy VIII's The Legendary Beast during GTA 3. It doesn't work, but shruggy emoticon? The CD smelled amazing. Okay, what's this? The CD smelled amazing, by the way. Something akin to roasted coffee beans.
Yeah, that's dedication.
Yes, sir.
I just got this image of like a scratch and sniff thing.
Anything scratch and sniff if you try hard enough.
Yeah, if you scratch and sniff the 13 CD, it smells like disappointment.
Oh, Lord.
To this day, I still have the original plastic covering on each box, just to keep the covers clean. That's some dedication to your OSTs, man. I got them all.
Absolutely.
I got them all from the onlines. I don't have a physical copy, but if I did, you better believe I did have two things that I had physical copies of. The first one was the Final Fantasy S Generation CD, which I've long since lost, and that makes me so mad, but I had it once, and it was amazing. And I had this one that was called, it was some sort of side project that was music, and it was music inspired by Final Fantasy. It was sort of like fan music. And it was in a physical CD, and I got it as a gift from somebody on some occasion. But yeah, man, I know if you have the CDs, you got to take care of them. It's like so important.
It should be a requirement of owning them.
I know, right? It's like my brother had like binders full of these things, and they were always in pristine condition, and all the covers and cases were neatly stacked. It's just, sorry, I'm an audiophile, so I get excited by that.
That's all right. Ryu, you want to read the next one?
All right, so the next one is Tenyo, who is currently a pizza cat. When I was 19, my parents bought me a PS2 along with a copy of Final Fantasy X-2. Had me open X-2 first, and I just kind of sat there and stared at it. Then I quickly grabbed the one present that looked roughly the size of a PS2 box and opened it. And there it was. Socks. No, I'm just joking. And that PS2 was still working like new to this very day. I've contemplated selling it on eBay, but I still kind of feel attached to it. I sold X-2 though. I bought the HD remaster, so no need for it.
I would probably sell my PS2 if they would make the PS4 backwards compatible to pick up the PS2 games. My PS2 is somehow still running despite the extreme amount of use I've gotten out of it.
Yeah, so. I don't sell ditch my consoles until they absolutely stop working entirely. I have a half-functional PS3 that I use just for, digital games and Netflix.
Taking the disc drive stopped working?
Completely dead, thanks to Uncharted 3.
The next comment we got here was from Lex. He says, I actually have 0 Final Fantasy Christmas memories. Like, aside from playing them year-round, and therefore not really associating them with a time of year, aside from being happier when the weather's shit, so there's no pressure to go outside. Everybody is aware of my love for Final Fantasy, but nobody has ever bought me a Final Fantasy-related Christmas gift. Even though it would be the easiest thing ever, and I'd immediately love that gift more than anything else. Foolish humans.
Foolish humans.
I'll go ahead and read this next one too. Ghost X says, like Lex, I too have no personal Christmas Final Fantasy memories. A friend got Final Fantasy XII for Christmas whilst I was staying at theirs, but I had to wait a few months before I returned to my own country to buy it myself. Fortunately, the experience was pretty fresh for me, since they didn't play the game much when I was there. A true Christmas tragedy/miracle, depending on how you look at it.
And let's take a break here, because Flint says he's got to peace out, so Flint, thanks for joining us as always.
I understand, you, Flint. Dude. Sorry about that, man.
Sleep well. Yeah, no problem. Just getting a bit late here, and I'm sure you can manage the rest of the show.
Yep. Well, we're probably going to wrap it up here before long, so thanks,
all right,
Flint.
I'll look forward to hearing.
Things are already on fire, so we're just going to have to, so...
Take care, Flint.
Right. Yeah, good night, everyone.
Night.
Okay. JT, you want to take this one from Flair?
Yeah, I'm just down there actually.
Which I love their
picture of
graphic
lightning
here with
or
what amounts to Cloud with long hair. Apparently,
like I said, lightning.
Yes, lightning.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, only FF Christmas memories I can think of are, firstly, when my sis and I got Crystal Chronicles for the GameCube. Yes, it's a spin-off, whatever FF game, but we loved it. And at the time, we didn't have any PlayStation system, so we had to make do with a Nintendo version of Final Fantasy.
Yeah, Crystal Chronicles is awesome. Don't be badmouth Crystal Chronicles.
Next, I got Crisis Core for Christmas and played through the game and beat it within less than 2 weeks. Monster. I was hooked on it. And I mean, why wouldn't I be? CC Sephiroth was in it, and I frickin' love him. But seriously, I love his character, and I greatly enjoyed seeing him in a different light. My sister bought Final Fantasy XIII when it came out on December 17th, unable to wait for Christmas. Good thing no one bought it for us, lol. And we both played that game during the Christmas season and afterwards. I loved it. I particularly remember walking in the Vile Peaks, the music and the area in the game contrasting with the Christmas tree in the room. And moving on to the lovely Gapra Whitewood, which really enchanted me, the scenery and the music. And I will say, for all of the qualms against 13, it is a gorgeous game, and the Gapper Whitewood, the music in there is freaking amazing.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Only you could go back and listen to it. Only you could go back. Ever.
It's just, well, it's all a metaphor for time, man. You can never go back.
It's a metaphor for game design and how we need to get this game done. God damn it.
Yeah. Then, before the year was over, some of my family was visiting while I was playing the game, and a few second cousins came in to watch me. I remember one of them, just a little girl at the time, still scared of the giant adamantoises in the Arkelt steppe. I can't pronounce that word,
Arcolite.
Arcolite, thank you. I told her there was nothing to worry about. They were just a big dinosaur turtles that wandered around the plains, and they never ran after you or bothered with you. And before I was done playing, the dad of said second cousin came out and watched me play a bit. He complimented the graphics, but once he learned it was an FF game, he said he never really cared for the series. I thought what a shame that it is, because of the stories and the worlds are so amazing to experience. Really fond of these, really fun memories for these moments. I love getting a game I really want for Christmas and then getting to play it the rest of the day.
Amen, Flair.
Yeah.
Amen. Next remark from Tetsuya. Ryu, you want to read this one?
I remember seeing an ad in a gaming magazine for some shop that sold some video game soundtracks and other stuff back in '99, I think. Back in the day, before I conveniently ripped CDs to my PC. I had a fancy CD player for up to 3 CDs, though. I had this large tray that could rotate to cycle through the discs. Anyway, I asked my dad to order the Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII soundtracks for me for Christmas, and so he did. Unfortunately, I only got the FF8 soundtrack. Apparently, the 7 ones were out of stock. Instead, they sent me 2 other soundtracks to make up for that, as well as another FF8 soundtrack, which was a single CD featuring the Eyes on Me theme song and a few selected tracks from the OST. For some reason, all strung together into a single audio track. The other tracks were actually video CD files, the FF8 opening and ending. If I recall correctly, there was a type of Eyes on Me music video as well, and the PS1 opening FMVs for 5 and 6. All in all, terrible quality. The whole CD was kind of suspect, but okay. Actually, I think my friend had one of those too, and they were definitely bootlegs. As for the other 2 OSTs, strangely enough, they didn't come in CD cases. They literally put the CDs loosely into the booklets and shipped them like that. Confused monster. Somewhat suspect yet again, but okay. We'll get to that in a bit. Anyway, I had no clue what those soundtracks were since the titles were written in Japanese, except one of them clearly depicted someone riding a chocobo with the sun setting in the background. I started listening to that soundtrack and was greeted with an orchestral tune, which I immediately recognized. It was the theme of Mystic Quest, aka Final Fantasy Adventure in the US, or Seiken Densetsu Final Fantasy Gaiden in Japan, the first game in the Mana series. That's not Mystic Quest, but I'm going to continue anyways. Never mind. He's talking about a different... There's a huge confusion about... There are several games called Mystic Quest, but let's not even worry about that. It's somewhat made up for not getting the 7 soundtrack, as Mystic Quest was the first RPG type of game and the first Square title I had ever played. The first game that made me realize games could be more than just Mario type of fun. They could be stories, adventures, dramas, all that good shit. So I was actually quite excited listening to these familiar tunes, arranged for an orchestra no less. Basically, the first couple of tracks were orchestral medleys. This was the original game music. The other soundtrack, well, to this day I have no clue what the fuck that game was. I don't know the title, but it sounded like a fighting game. There were sound effects on the CD too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I don't fucking know. Anyways, the FF8 soundtrack was the first print edition, which came in a long rectangular box made of cardboard, which looked somewhat fancy. I'm surprised it looked as nice as it did, because it's a fucking bootleg. All of those soundtracks were bootlegs. I only found out many, many years later when I was already grown up and had access to the internet. The OSTs had the logo of SM Records, which is apparently a Taiwanese bootleg company. So yeah, that's why they were so suspect, but as a young boy I didn't know any better. And the FF8 OST actually still looks pretty neat for something that's just a replica, apparently. Either way, I just listened to the FF8 soundtrack all the time during our Christmas holiday vacation. Good times. So that's my FFX memory, tree monster. Anyways, to explain my little confusion, so Final Fantasy Adventure was released in the UK and a couple other places, I think, as Mystic Quest, while the US got its own original game called Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, which I think was released as Mystic Quest Final Fantasy elsewhere.
Yeah, I was a bit confused by that when I first read that from Tets too, but that makes complete sense. Thanks for the explanation.
Yeah.
I also want to comment on the music that just because we had mentioned it last podcast. The music that you said sounds like a fighting game. I'm wondering if that wasn't maybe the Ehrgeist soundtrack. It fits in that general milieu of games. So you might want to take a listen, Tets, at some point to the Ehrgeist soundtrack and see if
it very much could be. You know, and it's a good soundtrack, so give it a listen.
It is. It's got some good music.
Aw, and he has a sad panda.
I don't have
Ruby
any.
Roses just
My
says,
parents don't get Final Fantasy. Sad panda.
Yep. Yep. I was getting ready to read that. Yeah.
my condolences, Chan.
Absolutely. That's the last of the responses we got on the live stream forum, so thank you to all of you that responded. We did get a couple of quick responses from Facebook as well. This first one comes from Jade Hyam, and I apologize, Jade, if I am pronouncing your name incorrectly. When it was Christmas Day in 2005, my older brother got me Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. I screamed the house down. I was so happy. It's the best Christmas I've had so far. That's amazing. And then you put in the movie and realized it's not so amazing.
You just have to use the right subtitle track. Final Fantasy Children Advent Fanboys.
I think depending on what version of Advent Children you got, the best part of it may have been the animated short that came with the collector's edition. Yeah, Last Order. Yes,
that was good. That was amazing.
Yes, absolutely. The best part
also
of Advent Children by far.
I kind of liked the what came with the DVD was the. I actually think it was called On the Way to a Smile. It was a recap.
Yeah.
A recap of the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
good too.
Oh, the Cloud driving around segment.
Yeah.
For those who don't know about that, the reason all these are called like On the Way to a Smile is because the last track of Final Fantasy Advent Children's soundtrack and the last scene is Cloud Smiles. And that's, I guess, what they were getting at when they went with that name there. So,
and the only reason the reason it's called that is because the one of the last actions in the actual script is Cloud smiles, and then nobody was like, oh, I got to write some shit for that. That's big.
Because it's like Cloud had never smiled before in the entire. I guarantee you, Cloud had a smile on his face in the Honeybee Manor. Okay.
Oh no, it's not that he had never smiled. It's that he was in a fucking geostigma depression funk, and it's like, here's him going back to being able to smile.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. That's that.
But yeah, they were like, yeah, the fandom has this perception of Cloud, and we're just gonna go with that one.
I'll take Alex Carlos Silva, who commented, doing RP on a Jedi Academy server where it's Midgar on Midgar V3, and everyone has Final Fantasy related skins and weapons. Sometimes play on Blue Ice Twilight, which is where we pretend it's the snow area in Final Fantasy VII.
Sweet.
You are like third generation geek, and I applaud you. So, like, seriously, that's freaking amazing. That's like three things I love all coalesced into one sentence.
That's amazing.
Yeah. You're getting very, very concentrated geek going.
You could distill it into a brewery. God, okay.
We actually kind of need to dilute this to be safe for normal people.
I know, right? Okay, and
Adam S. Woodrow says, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance for Christmas many snowy moons ago. What a fun few months I had with it.
I fucking love Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. My hat's off to you, Adam. I love that game.
I love it until the third set of rules comes in, then it just becomes sort of irritating. But once that's out of the picture, once you get the post game, it's great.
I absolutely adore Tactics Advance. It was actually the first Final Fantasy game that I bought for my Game Boy Advance, and I had so much fun with that game. I've got many fond memories of playing that.
I never got it for Christmas. I got it at one point, and I had it for a little bit with my Game Boy Advance SP. And I never played it around Christmas, but I always think of Christmas when I think of that game because the opening is the freaking snowball fight.
Yeah, the snowball fight. Yeah.
I think, doesn't it actually take place right before Christmas?
I think it does.
The
framing story?
I think it does, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is all of the Christmas memories we got. We want to thank every single one of you for sending in your favorite Final Fantasy related Christmas memories, and we actually also want to take the time real quick to thank all of you very, very much for listening. We hope that your holidays are terrific. We do have quite a bit of listener feedback outside of this. But we're running really long. I promise all of you that I am going to read your feedback on the air here. We just had so much news.
I'm telling you, we just need to do one that's just feedback. We've got enough of it.
Yeah, we may just do that, Ryu. We may just do that. For our next episode, it will be coming on the right as we're getting ready to close off on the year 2015. I'm trying to decide if we are going to do a year in review episode or if we want to do something even more fun and talk about the comparisons between Star Wars and Final Fantasy, since it also seems very topical, given the fact that Star Wars opens up in the US tomorrow as of this recording. So,
¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah, I know. Why can't we do both? But I tell you, either way is happy, but let's face it, the Star Wars comparisons would be a lot more fun because this year, the year in review for this year is going to be, we love Final Fantasy 15. No, we hate it. We hate the stupid trailer.
You have to finish that off with a couple of columns. So come on. There we go.
And then we went back to loving
it. Good. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, we could probably do both. I think both would be fun topics. We could probably do the year in review stuff in the news and notes segment, and then we could use the Star Wars Final Fantasy comparisons for the main topic of the show. We'll think about it. If you have any ideas or suggestions on what we should do for the last episode of the year, give us a holler. Send us an email at lifestreampod@gmail.com, or of course you can always hit us up on the lifestream.net forums. I do have a question for the listenership for this episode, and I'm really looking forward to the responses I'm going to get to this. How do you feel about the announcement that Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be episodic? I know it seems to be greatly debated, so I'm looking forward to hearing your responses and your reasonings as to why you feel the way you feel about it. So with that said, we do want to hear from you. Send your questions and feedback to us at lifestreampod@gmail.com. You can also reply to the episode posts each week on the lifestream.net forums. Please leave us feedback on iTunes. We will do our best to read your questions, comments, and feedback on the air. And we would like to, again, thank you very, very much for listening to the Lifestream Final Fantasy Podcast. Take care, and always protect the crystals.
Unless your name is Marsh, in which case destroy that shit to make your friends face their goddamn fears. Especially Mute. You real Mute? I'm looking at you, Mute. Put down the teddy bear.
Music featured in this episode is courtesy of incompetech.com.
I can take it, yep. Brendan says, I received Final Fantasy VII when I was about 10 years old, which is the same as I was. Just that was me talking, not Brendan. Except for him, it was only 6 or 7 years ago. It was from my this is so confusing. I started talking as myself, and then I'm going back to Brandon. I don't know whether to say he or me.
Just adopt a silly voice, and that's Brandon. In fact, Brandon is now the Swedish chef. It was for my grandfather who had a niece, you know.
I'm just going to start again. I'm not so good with the silly voices, but